As the day began to wind down, the beach took on a magical quality that only comes with approaching sunset. The harsh brightness of midday had softened into a warm, golden glow that made everything look like it belonged in a painting. Families were beginning to gather their belongings, but the pace remained unhurried, as if everyone understood that this particular Saturday afternoon deserved to be savored rather than rushed. Archie had finally exhausted himself with the ambitious construction project, and the collaborative Sand City now stretched over an impressive area of beach. What had started as his simple castle had evolved into a complex urban planning project involving multiple families and featuring everything from residential towers to what appeared to be a shopping district, complete with shell-decorated storefronts. "I think we've created a masterpiece," Harry said, admiring the sandy metropolis that bore little resemblance to any actual city but possessed a creative logic that only children could devise. Meghan was documenting the final stages of construction, knowing that tomorrow's tide would reclaim all their hard work, but understanding that the memories they were creating would last much longer than any sand structure ever could. She had learned to appreciate these temporary moments of beauty, perhaps even more because of their fleeting nature. The other families began the inevitable process of packing up beach gear, shaking sand from towels, and gathering scattered toys that had migrated across the beach during the day's adventures. But there was no sense of urgency. Santa Barbara beaches in the late afternoon encouraged a more relaxed approach to time. Archie said goodbye to his new friends with the serious formality that small children bring to such occasions, exchanging promises to meet again soon that might or might not happen but felt completely sincere in the moment. He had collected several special shells and stones throughout the day, and now carefully placed them in a small bucket to take home as treasures. "Can we come back tomorrow?" he asked his parents, a question that had become routine after particularly enjoyable outings. "We'll see," Meghan replied, the standard parent response that somehow managed to be both non-committal and hopeful at the same time. As they began gathering their own belongings, Harry reflected on how different this beach experience had been from family outings during his royal years. There had been no security perimeter, no carefully planned logistics, no media presence to manage. They had simply shown up, found a spot on the sand, and enjoyed themselves like any other family. The simplicity of it still amazed him sometimes. During his years as a working royal, even the most casual public appearance required weeks of planning and coordination. Today, they had made a spontaneous decision over breakfast and spent the entire day doing exactly what they wanted to do, when they wanted to do it. An elderly woman who had been watching their castle construction project throughout the day approached them as they packed up. She introduced herself as Eleanor, a local resident who had been bringing her grandchildren to this beach for over 20 years. "Your little boy has quite the imagination," she told them, smiling warmly at Archie, who was carefully organizing his shell collection. "It's wonderful to see families really enjoying themselves here. This beach has always been special for creating memories." Eleanor shared stories about the area's history, explaining that this particular stretch of coastline had been a gathering place for families for generations. During the 1960s, it had been a popular spot for local artists and musicians, and remnants of that creative spirit still influenced the relaxed atmosphere that attracted young families today. "There's something about this place that brings out the best in people," Eleanor continued. "Maybe it's the way the mountains meet the ocean, or maybe it's just that California magic everyone talks about. Either way, your son will remember days like this for the rest of his life." Her words resonated with both Harry and Meghan, who understood the importance of creating positive childhood memories for Archie. They wanted his early years to be filled with simple pleasures and genuine experiences, rather than the formal protocols and public scrutiny that had defined Harry's own childhood. As Eleanor walked away, continuing her evening stroll along the beach, the family finished packing their things and took one last look at their Sand City masterpiece. The structure would be gone by morning, claimed by the tide, but the experience of creating it together would become part of their family story. The beach was beginning to empty as dinner time approached, but a few dedicated families remained to catch the sunset that was still an hour away. Harry suggested they grab dinner at a local seafood restaurant they had discovered during previous trips to Santa Barbara, a casual place where Archie could eat fish sticks while his parents enjoyed fresh local catches. As they walked back toward their car, Meghan noticed how relaxed and content Harry looked. The stress lines that had become permanent features during their final royal years had softened considerably since their move to California, and days like this seemed to erase them entirely. Archie skipped along between his parents, chattering excitedly about the dolphins they had seen and the friends he had made and the castle they had built. His running commentary on the day's events would continue throughout dinner and probably into bedtime, as 3-year-olds tend to process exciting experiences through extensive verbal replay. Today was perfect, Meghan said quietly to Harry as they reached their car and began loading beach gear into the back. Harry nodded, understanding that perfection didn't require elaborate planning or expensive activities. Sometimes the best days were the simplest ones, where the only agenda was spending time together and letting the day unfold naturally. As they drove home through the winding roads of Santa Barbara, with Archie already dozing in his car seat despite his earlier protestations that he wasn't tired, both Harry and Meghan felt the deep satisfaction that comes from a day well spent. The evening light filtered through the car windows, creating shifting patterns of gold and shadow that matched their mood perfectly. Their Montecito home came into view as they rounded the final curve, looking welcoming and peaceful in the fading daylight. The Spanish-style architecture seemed to belong naturally in this landscape of rolling hills and Mediterranean climate, providing them with the privacy and security they needed while still feeling connected to their community. Inside the house, they would soon begin the familiar evening routine of baths and bedtime stories, with Archie undoubtedly requesting tales about brave knights who built sandcastles by the sea. The shells and stones he had collected would find places of honor on his bedroom windowsill, where they would catch the morning light and remind him of their perfect beach day. Later that evening, after Archie was asleep, Harry and Meghan would sit on their terrace with glasses of wine, reviewing the photos Meghan had taken throughout the day and talking about how fortunate they felt to have found this life. The sounds of the California night would surround them, crickets chirping, distant traffic, and the occasional sound of neighbors enjoying their own evening routines. These quiet moments of reflection had become important rituals for them, times when they could appreciate how far they had traveled from their previous life and how much they had gained by choosing their own path. Days like this beach adventure represented everything they had hoped to achieve when they made the difficult decision to step back from royal duties. The photos from their beach day would eventually join the growing collection of family memories they were creating in California: birthday parties, hiking adventures, visits to local farmers markets, and countless other ordinary moments that felt extraordinary because of their simplicity and authenticity. As the stars appeared over Santa Barbara that night, the tide began its inevitable approach toward the elaborate sand city that Archie and his new friends had built with such care and imagination. By morning, the beach would be smooth and clean, ready for new families to create their own temporary masterpieces and lasting memories. But, for Harry, Meghan, and Archie, the day would remain perfect in their memories, a snapshot of the life they had chosen and the happiness they had found in the simple pleasure of spending a relaxing day together on a beautiful Santa Barbara beach, surrounded by the natural beauty and welcoming community that had become their home. The afternoon brought a gentle shift in the beach's energy as more families arrived for weekend picnics and the earlier morning joggers were replaced by casual strollers and couples walking hand in hand along the water's edge. Harry stretched out on the blanket, feeling the warm sand beneath him and watching as Meghan applied sunscreen to Archie's shoulders with the practiced efficiency of an experienced mother. "Can we go in the water now?" Archie asked, eyeing the gentle waves with the eager anticipation that only small children possessed. The Pacific Ocean looked particularly inviting today, with waves that were just the right size for a toddler's first real beach swimming experience. Meghan looked at Harry, and they shared one of those wordless conversations that married couples master over time. The water temperature, Archie's swimming ability, and the general safety of the beach conditions were all evaluated in a matter of seconds. "Let's test the water first," Harry suggested, standing up and brushing sand from his swim shorts. He had learned to be cautious about ocean swimming after years of military training that had taught him to respect the power of water, even when it looked deceptively calm. The three of them walked toward the shoreline, with Archie running ahead and then quickly retreating when the cool water touched his toes. His squeals of surprise and delight carried across the beach, drawing smiles from other families who remembered their own children's first encounters with ocean waves. "It's cold," Archie announced, though he immediately stepped forward again, clearly determined to conquer this new challenge. Harry knelt beside his son and let the water wash over their feet together. "The trick is to go in slowly," he explained, remembering his own father giving him similar advice during childhood beach holidays in Scotland, though those waters had been considerably colder than this California paradise. Meghan captured the moment on her phone as father and son ventured deeper into the gentle surf, their hands clasped together as they navigated the small waves that rolled toward shore. The image was perfect in its simplicity, no formal poses or staged smiles, just two people she loved sharing a moment of pure joy. The water was refreshingly cool but not shockingly cold, perfect for a warm Santa Barbara afternoon. Archie's initial hesitation quickly gave way to excitement as he discovered that jumping over the smaller waves was incredibly fun, especially when Harry lifted him at just the right moment to make it feel like he was flying. Other children at the beach began to gravitate toward their area, drawn by Archie's infectious laughter and the obvious fun they were having. Soon, Harry found himself supervising an impromptu group of young wave jumpers, each child taking turns being lifted over the incoming surf. "You're very good with children," observed a woman whose 6-year-old daughter had joined the group. "Do you work with kids professionally?" Harry smiled at the question, appreciating the anonymity that allowed people to make natural assumptions about his life. "Just practice with my own," he replied, which was truthful enough while avoiding any complicated explanations. Meghan waded into the water to join them, and soon they had established a family game where Archie would run toward the waves, retreat at the last second, then charge forward again with renewed determination. Each successful wave encounter was celebrated with cheers and high-fives, as if he had conquered Mount Everest rather than a foot-high wave. The afternoon sun created perfect lighting for the impromptu photo session that developed naturally as Meghan captured their water adventures. These weren't the carefully lit professional shots that had filled their official royal portraits, but rather the kind of authentic family photos that would eventually fill their personal albums and bring back memories for years to come. A pod of dolphins appeared in the distance, their sleek forms breaking the surface as they traveled north along the coastline. The sighting drew excited attention from everyone on the beach, with children pointing and adults reaching for binoculars and cameras. "Look, Archie! Do you see the dolphins?" Meghan pointed toward the ocean, helping him spot the magnificent creatures. Archie's eyes widened with wonder as he caught sight of the dolphins' graceful movements. "They're swimming just like us," he observed with the perfect logic of a 3-year-old. The dolphin sighting became an unexpected highlight of their beach day, with several families gathering together to watch the marine mammals continue their journey. Harry found himself talking with other parents about the local wildlife, learning that dolphin sightings were fairly common in this area, especially during certain times of the year. As the afternoon progressed, the beach began to take on a more relaxed, settled feeling. The morning's initial rush of activity had given way to a leisurely pace where families spread out their blankets, children built increasingly elaborate sand structures, and adults settled in for serious relaxation. Archie had made several new friends during their water adventures, and now the group of children had moved back to the sand to work on a collaborative construction project that seemed to involve connecting everyone's individual sandcastles into one massive fortified complex. "It's amazing how quickly children make friends," Meghan observed to Harry as they watched their son enthusiastically explaining his castle-building techniques to his new companions. Harry nodded, remembering his own childhood experiences where playground friendships could form in minutes and feel like they had lasted forever. "He's got your social skills," he said, watching as Archie mediated a minor dispute about moat placement with the diplomatic skills of a seasoned negotiator. The collaborative castle project had attracted quite an audience by this point, with parents taking photos and offering construction advice. What had started as a simple family beach day was turning into an impromptu community building event, with multiple generations contributing ideas and labor to the growing sandy metropolis. An older gentleman with extensive knowledge of local history explained to the children that the area where they were building had actually been inhabited by Chumash people hundreds of years ago, and that they might find artifacts if they dug deep enough. This led to an immediate excavation project alongside the castle construction, with small hands eagerly searching for historical treasures. While no ancient artifacts were discovered, the children did unearth an impressive collection of interesting shells, smooth stones, and pieces of sea glass that had been polished by decades of wave action. Each find was celebrated as if it were a precious gem, adding to the magic of their beach adventure. Meghan found herself in conversation with several other mothers, sharing stories about parenting challenges and discoveries. These casual friendships formed over shared experiences were something she had missed during her more formal royal life, where every interaction was carefully planned and monitored. The afternoon sun began its slow descent toward the horizon, painting the sky in subtle shades of gold and pink. The beach crowd had thinned somewhat, with some families packing up after full days in the sun, while others were just arriving for evening activities. Harry suggested they take a walk along the shoreline while Archie continued his construction work under the supervision of his new friend's parents. The couple strolled hand in hand along the water's edge, feeling the cool sand between their toes and listening to the rhythmic sound of waves that seemed to wash away any remaining stress from their previous life. The morning sun cast long golden shadows across the pristine Santa Barbara coastline as Prince Harry stepped out of their sleek black Range Rover, immediately feeling the cool Pacific breeze against his face. The familiar scent of salt and seaweed brought back memories of childhood beach trips, though this one felt different, more peaceful, more private than anything he had experienced in his royal life. Meghan emerged from the passenger side, her flowing sundress dancing in the gentle wind as she reached into the back seat to help 3-year-old Archie with his small backpack filled with beach toys. The toddler's excitement was infectious as he bounced on his toes, clutching a bright red sand bucket in one hand and a plastic shovel in the other. "Daddy, can we build the biggest castle ever?" Archie asked, his eyes sparkling with anticipation as he gazed toward the expansive stretch of sand that seemed to go on forever. Harry chuckled, ruffling his son's curly hair that reminded him so much of his own at that age. "We'll build a castle so big that even the waves won't be able to knock it down," he promised, though he knew the Pacific Ocean rarely made such compromises. The family had chosen this particular section of beach specifically for its relative privacy. Located just a 20-minute drive from their Montecito home, this stretch of coastline was known among locals for its peaceful atmosphere and stunning natural beauty. Unlike the crowded tourist beaches further south, this area attracted mainly local families and the occasional photographer hoping to capture the perfect sunset shot. Meghan spread out a large navy blue blanket while Harry helped Archie organize his collection of beach toys. The couple had learned to appreciate these simple family moments even more after stepping back from their royal duties. Every ordinary activity felt like a small victory, a reminder that they had successfully created the life they wanted for their family. "Remember when we used to have to plan beach trips weeks in advance?" Meghan said quietly to Harry as they watched Archie immediately begin digging in the sand with the determination of a small construction worker. Harry nodded, understanding exactly what she meant. Their previous life had been filled with security briefings, official protocols, and carefully orchestrated public appearances. Now, they could wake up on a Saturday morning and decide to spend the day at the beach without involving a team of royal staff or security personnel. The beach was relatively quiet for a weekend morning, with only a few early joggers passing by and a distant family setting up their own spot near the water's edge. Seagulls circled overhead, their cries mixing with the rhythmic sound of waves crashing against the shore. Archie had already begun his ambitious castle project, using his small hands to pack sand into his bucket with the seriousness of an architect reviewing building plans. His concentration was absolute as he carefully turned the bucket upside down and slowly lifted it, revealing a perfectly formed sand tower. "Look, Mommy! I made one," he announced proudly, pointing at his creation with sandy fingers. Meghan knelt beside him, genuinely impressed by his technique. "That's incredible, sweetheart. Should we make more towers to go with it?" As the morning progressed, the family fell into an easy rhythm. Harry proved to be surprisingly skilled at sandcastle engineering, using his military background to approach the construction with strategic precision. He showed Archie how to create a strong foundation and how to use seawater to make the sand stick together better. Meghan documented their progress with her phone, capturing candid moments of Harry and Archie working together, their heads bent over their sandy masterpiece as they discussed the finer points of castle architecture. These were the photos she treasured most, not the formal family portraits from their royal days, but these spontaneous glimpses of their real life. The castle grew steadily throughout the morning, complete with multiple towers, connecting walls, and even a small moat that Archie insisted was necessary for proper defense. Other beachgoers occasionally paused to admire their work, and a few children asked if they could help, which Archie graciously allowed under his careful supervision. "We need flags for the towers," Archie declared after stepping back to survey their progress. "Every good castle needs flags." Harry looked around and spotted some driftwood pieces that had washed ashore. "How about we use these as flagpoles?" he suggested, showing Archie how they could stick the wood pieces into the sand towers. Meghan contributed by finding some interesting shells and smooth stones to decorate the castle walls. She had always been drawn to beachcombing, finding something meditative about searching for small treasures hidden in the sand. As they worked, Harry found himself thinking about how different his son's childhood was from his own. While Archie would certainly face unique challenges as the child of such well-known parents, he was also experiencing a freedom that Harry had rarely known. The beach day was proof of that. No photographers hiding in bushes, no strict schedules to follow, just a family enjoying time together. The sun climbed higher in the sky, warming the sand beneath their feet and bringing more families to the beach. The atmosphere remained relaxed and friendly, with children running between different groups and parents chatting casually while keeping watchful eyes on their little ones. Archie had made friends with a little girl named Sophia whose family was visiting from Los Angeles. Together, they worked on expanding the castle's defensive capabilities, which apparently required additional towers and a more complex moat system. "Your son is quite the engineer," Sophia's mother commented to Meghan as they watched the children collaborate on their sandy fortress. Meghan smiled, feeling that familiar warmth that came from hearing Archie praised by strangers who had no idea who they were. In these moments, they were just another family at the beach, and that anonymity felt like a gift. The castle project had become so elaborate that it attracted a small audience of curious beachgoers. An elderly man walking his golden retriever stopped to chat with Harry about construction techniques, while a teenage couple asked if they could take a photo of the impressive structure. As the morning sun reached its peak, the family decided it was time for a break from construction work. They had brought a cooler filled with sandwiches, fresh fruit, and cold drinks, and Archie's energy was beginning to flag after hours of intensive sand engineering.